Hey y'all, well, are you wondering about the 2021 thru hikers? Currently, the registration for thru hikers for 2021 is closed. So, are they going to get to put their name in the book at Amicalola? Are they going to get to register through ATC online at all? What about the 2020 hikers? Are they going to be recognized? How about the 2021 hikers? Are they going to be recognized? I know subscribers have these questions because I've had a lot of questions sent in from numerous different subscribers and numerous people in the hiking community. So to find out all the answers to these questions and more, stick around. Well, I want to welcome you to the channel. If this is your first time here, then we are all about building the hiker community and supporting the thru hikers no matter what year they're in. I hope you've come here to find the same thing. Hopefully you're going to get a lot of information out of that. So let's get on and talk about what I have found out. Don't forget to subscribe. Get me a thumbs up if you get anything out of it. And please leave a comment. I love answering your comments, and I'll answer whatever questions you have. If I don't know the answer, I'll either find out or I'll make something up. Just kidding, I will find out what the correct answer is. But fair warning, this video is going to include a ton of information, so it may run a little longer than most of them. First off, kudos and a huge thank you to Laura, and I may screw this name up, Pottinger from the ATC. She is the Information Service Manager up there, and I have sent her a ton of emails over the past 10 days to 2 weeks, and she has answered those, been spot on. Jane on the spot got back to me very quickly, so thank you, Lori. If you're watching this, I greatly appreciate this. So this year we have no registrations. Why do we have no registrations? Well, that's because the website has not been opened by the ATC up for registrations yet, so it's closed. Right now, this is what it used to look like. But now it does look like this. So there is some positivity going on there. But last year by this time we had a ton of registrations already. I went back and looked at some of my updates from last year, and we had somewhere around 910 nobos alone last year, and that does not include sobos or flip-floppers. So getting a little late start this year, but as of today we don't have anybody. So what's it going to take for the ATC to open up those registrations? Well, a couple days ago, I believe that was on a Friday at 6:34 p.m. is when I got it. They finally came out with some positive news, and that is that they are going to open up the registrations for 2021 on December 1st. So that's about 10 days prior to the announcement that I sent some very direct questions to the ATC and asking them about that. So I actually put together a video about what was going on, and they beat me to the punch, and I'm glad they did, because there's always room for positive information out there. But originally when I requested this information, they indicated that the December 1st date was tentative. Hopefully, since they got it up on their website, that it's no longer tentative, that it is cast in stone, and we will definitely be having registrations on December 1st. So what does that registration really mean? Well, here's where it gets a little sticky. After the email that I'd sent to them, and they answered it before they sent that email out, I sent another email out in response to that. Typically, the registration's there. It's there for a lot of reasons. Data collection to use for funding requests, to figure out where the management for the trail, where those resources need to go, where trails crews need to be. It also gives them ability to communicate with thru hikers that are out there on the trail, and it also gives them a means to identify when folks put in for their thru hiker completion, if they did complete or not, even though they do have the information that they ask you to fill out an affidavit or just a promise that, yes, I did make a concerted effort to hike every mile of the trail. It still helps them to track that through these registrations. And that is where information I got directly from the ATC. So does that mean they're going to recognize thru hikers from 2020? And does that mean they're going to recognize, and does that apply to 2020 registered hikers? Well, here's a question that I asked them, and I asked them some very direct questions, and they gave me some very direct answers. So I said, does this mean that you will recognize thru hikers and the earlier criteria to be recognized do not apply to the 2021 registered hikers? Their reply was, a decision has not yet been made about whether 2021 hikers will be recognized as 2,000 milers if they hike or complete the AT in that year. At this time, there is too much uncertainty about the course of the pandemic. Oops, I did not get a very good feeling after I read that. So my second question that was actually already in that email and already asked, kind of anticipating something that wasn't that I needed to ask more question was will those that are registered who plan to start in December be recognized? And their response was, ATC's recommendation of keeping hikes local has not changed. Until it does, there are no plans to reopen 2,000 miler recognition. So currently, regardless of registration, there is no guarantee that the ATC will recognize thru hikers in 2021. Let me say that again. There is no guarantee that your hike in 2021 will be recognized by the ATC. Of course, recognition is not the only reason that people hike the trail, and the vast majority of thru hikes don't do it for that reason, but there is a small percentage, and I knew some people this year who got off the trail or who didn't start their hike because they wanted that official recognition from the ATC. So we'll talk a little bit about that later and who recognizes it from this year, and the assumption is next year. I also wanted to determine if there was any validity to the rumor that I had heard that possibly they would recognize 2020 thru hikers. So here's my question. I know that the ATC previously indicated that they would not recognize thru hikers until the ATC gave the okay to return to the trail based upon one of three criteria being met. Has that position changed, and will you be recognizing thru hikers from 2021? And then second part of that question was, does ALDHA, or the Appalachian Long Distance Hikers Association, and BSP, Baxter State Park, recognizing thru hikers place pressure on you to do the same? And the reply was, we will not be issuing 2,000 miler certificates in 2020. Any miles hiked on or before March 31st, 2020 will count toward our 2,000 miler certificate in subsequent years. Our guidance has remained for hikers to keep hikes local. We have not had a period when cases were flat or declining in all trail states for 2 weeks. In addition, 8 trail states have had travel restrictions, and all overnight camping has been prohibited in Massachusetts and will be until the end of the year. So that seems pretty cut and dry to me, folks. If you hiked in 2020, you are not going to get any recognition from the ATC if you hiked anything after that March date. She also replied that Baxter State Park does not recognize thru hikers. The park registers various categories of AT hikers to record usage levels and patterns for management purposes. So I get that. There's not an official recognition. However, I consider Baxter State Park issuing a summit permit with the words NOBO and a NOBO number appearing after that recognition for a northbound thru hiker, because there's no other entity in the world that's referred to as NOBO other than a Appalachian Trail thru hiker in Baxter State Park on their permit. So to me, that's a little mini card for recognition that they do recognize you. I also asked, will hiker tags be given out this year? Here's where it gets interesting. We are not issuing 2020 AT hang tags through the end of the year. Determinations have not been made for 2021 given the uncertainties around the course of the pandemic. So, if you register online, you cannot count on getting that hanger tag. Can hikers still register at Amicalola Falls, Harpers Ferry, and Monson, or is it just online? The response was AT Camp thru hiker registrations, and atcamp.org is the website where you will be directed to from the ATC website to go and register your thru hike online. ATC Camp thru hiker registrations can only be completed online when the system reopens December 1st. Other hiker sign-ins, sometimes referred to as registrations, such as Amicalola Falls State Park, Georgia, the Appalachian Trail Conservancy Headquarters and Visitor Center in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, the Appalachian Trail Visitor Center in Monson, Maine, and Katahdin Stream Campground at Baxter State Park are separate and indicate the actual number of hikers passing through a spot on a certain day. So the way I interpret that is you are not actually registered for your thru hike unless you do it online. So she continues to back that up. The online ATC Camp Thru registration is essentially a pre-registration indicating an intent to start the trail on a certain date at a certain location to enable other hikers to view the most crowded start dates and adjust their start dates or locations accordingly to help hikers spread out and reduce crowding. Not all hikers who register actually begin thru hikes, and not all hikers who begin thru hikes register. So, she's absolutely correct about that. I have met folks that did not register their thru hike. Of course, we had a lot of that this year, but even in years when we didn't have some pandemic, I have seen that. If a hiker shows up at one of these sign-in places that has internet access, ATC headquarters, Amicalola Falls, Monson Center, staff will usually encourage thru hikers who have not registered on AC Camp prior to arriving to do so and may assist them if time allows. So I would be curious if you have gone down to Amicalola Falls prior to registering, or any of these other places, if you're a flip-flopper or Sobo and have not registered at atccamp.org, if when you got to one of these places and you signed in the book, did they direct you to go and sign in online? I'd be real curious to know if they actually did that. Someone might in fact both register their thru hike online via ATC Camp at Amicalola Falls and sign the Amicalola Falls Thru Hiker Registry, but those are different things and serve different purposes. Thru hikers are encouraged to register on ATC Camp as soon as they know their start date, but to view the charts as soon as they are contemplating a thru hike so they can be aware of the most crowded days before they finalize this travel plan so they can adjust their start date if doing so seems advantageous. So what is it going to take for the ATC to recognize thru hikers? Well, there's three criteria that they put out back in May. It was on first published May 20th, and one of these criteria has to be met. All official closures on the AT resulting from the pandemic are removed. Now, I'm not sure what all means. It's kind of like the definition of is. What is that? If you remember that from one of our presidents said that when he was testifying. National forests have opened back up, but shelters and privy use has not officially been open in most. And my information indicates that she is correct in saying most, because it is not, that condition is not so in all. And we'll talk about that in an upcoming video. Number 2, the rate of COVID-19 infections has remained flat for a period of 2 weeks, and recommended/required quarantines for out-of-state visitors in all 14 trail states have been lifted. All 14 trail states. And number 3 is an effective vaccine to protect against COVID-19 is widely available. The one that is 90% effective will not be available to the public at large till later in 2020. So that last part I put in there. So my questions are, number 2 seems to be the most viable because it's the most detailed and probably the most likely milestone that can be reached first without a shadow of a doubt as far as somebody questioning whether that milestone has been reached. All official closures on the AT resulting from the pandemic are removed. What does all mean? There's a lot of stuff out there, and who's going to keep track of that? And then an effective vaccine, well, the one they got coming out, hopefully that is coming out soon, is 90% effective. That's better than the flu. So I can't imagine there being an argument about being effective, but widely available, what does widely available mean? Does that mean it's got to be available in all 50 states, all over the world? Because we do have international hikers. I don't know what that means. But the one that is 90% effective won't be available to the public at large until later in 2021. So right now, the latest I saw is that the White House put out it's not going to be available for the public at large until after April late April or even after April. It may be available before then, but only to people that you know, I'm sure meet certain criteria, like first responders, policemen, firemen, people working in hospitals, people that need it the most, like folks in nursing homes, the people that are more at risk, not necessarily to hikers. So obviously with all these criteria and a little bit of wiggle room in one and three, I think it may be safe to say there's a distinct possibility that 2021 is going to be a non-recognition year as far as the ATC is concerned as well. Obviously for pure nobos, the ATC would have to indicate that it's all clear before April 1st, just for the timing to work out to get there before Baxter State Park closed. And that's for a pure no-bow, not saying that couldn't be for a flip-flopper, somebody who started no-bow at Springer and then flipped up at some particular point in time. And of course that would be a flip-flopper, not a pure no-bow. But a lot can happen over years, so we're going to stay positive what's going on. Another positive thing is that ALDA, the Appalachian Long Distance Hikers Association, is recognizing thru hikers for 2020. So I'd like to thank them for that. I'll leave a link in the description section where you can go and claim that certificate, claim that patch, if you were a thru hiker there. And then also we do have a ray of hope actually from the ATC that looking at their questions, you know, they indicated that, or I asked, if hikers started thru hiking in 2021 before registrations open, will you recognize them? And their reply was, we will not recognize hikes that took place between March 31st, 2020 and when registration opens, but any miles on or before March 31st, 2020 will count toward a 2,000-mile certificate in 2021 and subsequent years. So they're not ruling out a 2,000-mile certificate in 2021. There's just certain criteria gonna have to be met, and they're gonna have to give the all clear, so to speak. So I got a ton more of information that's coming up and some more videos. Thought this was enough for you to digest right now. I've asked the ATC for some more information, and they have been gracious to give this to me. And I'm grateful for them to do that. I hope you got something out of this. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment if you got any questions. Till next time, appreciate you, and we'll see you out there.